Let's talk more about these types of events and event planning and how strategic communications handles these types of events in a pandemic. Nobody better than that than Matt Friedman of Michigan, co-founder of Tanner Friedman Strategic Communications, a regular guest here on POTUS. Matt, good morning. How you doing?
Scott, good morning. Always good to talk to you and talk a little shop for your audience.
Yeah, nobody better. Let me ask you, if you were trying to plan a major event, you had a mandate, we want a big event, Matt, we want something that shows how important we are, how important the moment is, and they wanted it next week, what would you tell your client if they asked for that?
Please reconsider is how I would lead the conversation. And my colleagues and I spent most of the month of March canceling or postponing our clients' events. In some cases, the event was the only thing the client had prepared to pay us to work on. But it just simply was not appropriate to gather people at a time where, for safety purposes, for health purposes, we really shouldn't be gathering people. And audiences were very understanding and have been ever since. There's an event that I have the privilege of working on every year called the Mackinac Policy Conference. It's put on by the Detroit Regional Chamber on Mackinac Island in Lake Huron up in northern Michigan. It gathers more than 1,000 elected officials and business leaders, and we had to first postpone that event, and then we ultimately had to cancel that event for 2020. And audiences on both sides of the aisle and in every facet of business were very understanding. And I think it's incumbent upon any event organizer to be honest with their audience in the coming weeks and months that the event may not be able to happen, and that's okay.
Feels like the people in charge are the ones who need the most convincing. Around here, it was striking how it was just this month when senators finally got the message we shouldn't have our in-person 2-hour-long lunches inside the Capitol dining room. I mean, it's these people in power who need to have their arms twisted, but they're also not people used to having their arms twisted.
That's true. One of the hardest things that we have to do in the public relations profession is try to change human behavior. As humans, we are set in our ways. And one of the ways in which we have behaved for thousands of years throughout human history is to get together with other humans around causes we believe in places we all share and like. And it's been really hard to do since March of 2020, but it has taken those of us who are trusted in consulting roles to be able to say to our clients or those who entrust us with helping them make decisions that this has to be different now. Not forever, we expect, but now.
How do you make a moment happen if you don't have a crowd? I mean, Joe Biden's going to want to make a moment happen on Inauguration Day, but if he can't have those 600,000 adoring Democrats and American citizens on the National Mall, how would you advise a politician make a moment happen if he can't have people in a crowd cheering him on?
At least he's not going to have to just do it over Zoom. That's been very hard.
Yep.
But he's really going to have to do it with his words and with his emotions and whatever level of a crowd is safe to put together. And it's going to be different, and it may not be as historically memorable. It may not be as impactful in the moment. It may need to be peppered or complemented with other types of moments and activities to add up to the aggregate that Inauguration Day typically is. But it's just going to have to be different if you want to be responsible. And the incoming administration seems very interested in being responsible from a health and safety point of view. That they ran their campaign that way. I think they'll figure out how to do an inauguration that way too.
Those campaign events with the honking cars and the circles, those seem to work. I mean, he won.
Mm-hmm. In the places where those events took place, from what I understand, are the places where they felt like they needed to win and they got the vote turnout and differential that they needed. So obviously it was effective to some extent. And I think what that says is that when it comes down to it, audiences are looking for messages, audiences are looking for leadership, and that can be provided in different ways while it has to.
Speaking with Matt Friedman, Strategic Communications Specialist and co-founder of Tanner Friedman in Michigan. One of the specialties you all have is helping clients deal with misinformation, with social media attacks or social media or just public misinformation. We're kind of suffering that right now with the president posting and verbalizing misinformation, baseless claims. So how do you combat that? It feels like it's hard to fight fire with fire.
Sure is. It's interesting, Scott, you used the term misinformation. That's what I've always used throughout my career since I left the news business and moved to the PR side. And we try to help our clients explain to their audiences to get things right, because there's usually so much misinformation getting things wrong because of misperceptions or whatever happens along the way through the chain of human contact. What's happened here and what's been different is this has been disinformation. In other words, it's been intentionally wrong, and audiences have been exposed to information that somebody wanted them to have wrong. And in this case, the somebody has been, in many cases, the President of the United States and his political party. And one of the things I had the privilege of working on this year was a voter information campaign, nonpartisan, in the city of Detroit. And I thought the voter information campaign would be done when the voters voted. But that isn't how it worked out. We had to extend the campaign, and we've been working with journalists from all over the country to make sure that they have the facts and the right information about what happened with voting in the city of Detroit in particular, but in Michigan overall. It's been a real challenge. I have to tell you, the journalists have done a terrific job at putting truth first and being interested in not what somebody thought they saw or what somebody wished they saw, but what really happened. But it's been a lot of work. It's been quite exhausting the last few weeks.
What are some of the stubborn things you had to clear up that people had a misconception about?
Well, I think that sometimes the picture doesn't always tell the story. And there were some visuals that came out of Detroit on Wednesday, November 4th, that looked one way but were really another. And it's been incumbent upon us now to have to prove innocence, so to speak, and put election officials out in front and explain what was really happening when absentee ballots, 172,000 of them, were counted in the city of Detroit. Again, if you trust enough historic news sources, you've been able to find out what really happened. If you choose to only trust maybe a politician or one party or a news source that purports to be in support of them, then you're going to get a different story. You're going to get what somebody thought they saw or wished they saw. And that's been hard. Yeah,
we got to leave it there. I have a bunch more questions I could ask you about how Michigan played out after Election Day. We'll make time to do that in the future. With Matt Friedman, with Tanner Friedman Communications in Michigan. Thanks for your time, man.
Anytime, Scott. Thank you.